Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is Steve with Real Progressives. Let's get the turkey out of the room momentarily. You know, I know Thanksgiving means different things to different people. And I want to just say right up front that I am sensitive to those who this holiday feels a lot like Christopher Columbus Day. It doesn't have positive vibes for everybody. That said, I'm choosing for today to be something very positive. It's my personal choice how I take this, and I'm taking it in a very positive light. So let me just start there. Real Progressives, folks, you know, it's been a while. We've been around for a long time. And sometimes I forget exactly how long we've been around because you do it every single day and you forget about shit after a little while. You just forget. You get so caught up in what's happening around you that you just forget where you came from. And so yesterday, I started going through a bunch of the pictures that are in my archives and looking at all the actions that we covered, looking at all the different people that have come through the doors, and remembering all the people that I once considered brothers and sisters as part of Real Progressives that have now moved on to different things. And you know, I kept thinking the new crop of people that support me at Real Progressives, a lot of them don't know the history of RP. A lot of them only know the MMT version of RP. They don't know how RP started in support of Bernie Sanders during the Bernie Sanders primary. They don't understand how we would sit there and go month after month as the tallies would come in and we'd be fighting with each other and we had growth. I mean, it was like we were reaching millions of people. I mean, Facebook didn't even mess with the algorithms, man. We just had wide open. It was like the floodgates were on. We had people from all walks of life, comments. I mean, we would have threads that have 2,800 comments in them. It was amazing. It was a very, very different world. We were reaching, I mean, there was weeks where we would hit 10 million people in 1 week. You add that up over a course of a month, that's 40 million people reached. And we were just a bunch of guys and gals running around with camera phones and making memes with Pixlr on our cell phone. We weren't, funded. We didn't do anything. We just cared. And we made a name for ourselves because we worked our asses off. And we networked our asses off. And we had everybody here, folks. We were working with everyone from Debbie the Same Progressive, Claudia Stauber and Cabin Talk, Arn Manconi. I mean, folks, we have people you know and love, people that you don't know and love, people that you hate, whatever. But we had Mike Sionato here for a long time. We had tons of people. Zach Haller was here. But we had Jackie Lukman. And I was looking through all these pictures. And I was just remembering everybody, And I thought, it's a shame that we couldn't have found a way to make right. People got their feelings upset. It was a really rough time when everybody split up during that time period. And I'm just going to be honest with you. My father passed away. I think it was like a month and a half before they did their split when they all took off. And it was very painful. I don't know how many of you all have lost a parent before, but that is one of the most difficult challenges that a person can go through. And losing my dad was really hard on me for a host of reasons I don't need to get into right now. But the point is that it was right on the heels of Bernie conceding. Bernie conceded back in July. My father passed away September 15th of the same year. And then shortly thereafter, we did the Take Back Democracy March. We did our business meeting where we all gathered in Washington, D.C., a little minor effort to try and get Steve out of there happened, and everybody kind of went their separate ways. And then we entered into RP 2.0, where we had Tatsu, and we had Curtis C., and we had a host of other live streamers and speakers and so forth. We covered the Occupy inauguration setting. We had lots of really, really cool live footage straight from the protests. It was right there in the middle of things with concussion grenades going off and all these different tear gassing. And it was just right smack dab in the middle of it. It was very, very exhilarating and scary all at once, if that makes sense. But then after that, that whole thing blew up, and then we came up with the next round where Joe Firestone and that whole gang, and that's when we made our shift. Ellis Winningham, the whole gang came through, and that's when we made our shift largely to covering progressive issues from an MMT perspective. We stopped pretending like we didn't know the answer, and we started saying this is the answer. And that we had always done that, but there were people that weren't convinced. There were still people that thought somehow or another Bitcoin was going to save us, and there was just a lot of Rothschild stuff that was still interspersed in there. And, I held the line. I wasn't caving in. And so here we go. We've got this huge, long history of really, really expansive reach into Lee Camp, Tim Black. Tim Black, for one day, was our media director. For one day, Tim Black was our media director. He came out there and did a video. It was like, I am officially joining the Real Progressives. And it was like, Tim Black's now with Real Progressives. It was just a very exciting time. We had Garland Nixon. The list just kept going on and on and on. But it's important to know that we are where we are now. And where we are now is really exciting. You have to know what's going on behind the scenes. We've transitioned from being a bunch of people worrying about how Facebook worked to an actual organization, to a team of people that are really working through problems and working through solutions, and that work collaboratively and share the same vision. And it's really exciting. It's different. It's very different. But I thought that what better way to talk about what I'm grateful for, and what better way to talk about giving thanks than to give thanks to my own team. The team that has supported me through and through, the team that believes in this mission, the team that supports each other and considers each other family. And I really, really love the way this team talks to one another. I love the way this team interacts with each other. And I love the way this team puts the mission ahead of any personalities. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We're going to grow, and we're going to grow the right way. And I'm watching some people, some stars rising up inside the organization that really take this stuff seriously. They really take the relationships seriously. It just extremely makes you feel really, really good, because when you've worked this thing for as long as I've worked it, and you've seen how bad it can be, and you've seen how good it can be, it's really nice when you see positive energy going in the right direction. So, all right. So, team, thank you very much. That's part one of this. Now, part two is really important. One of our members on the team, personal confidant and one of the glue people on the team, Virginia Kotz, she is just an amazing mentor to me. She keeps me from saying really stupid things. I've tried to modify some of the stuff that I've said. Thank you, Virginia. Because I'm trying to build a movement. I'm not just trying to build an echo chamber. I want to have people feeling like they can participate and jump into this. And it's very hard when you're an alpha predator. And I am an apex predator, gang. I am truly that alpha. And so for me, having to figure out how to put things into different terms, different ways of saying things, has been a bit of a challenge. I ain't gonna lie, but I'm learning. I'm teachable. I'm trying, right? But the thing that is important is, as we look back at the way modern monetary theory has come out to the public, this has been going on for 30 years. These academics, I want to start there. I want to start there before we get into any activism. Before you even think of an activist, I want to talk about these academics for a minute. Warren Mosler was a hedge fund manager, and Warren Mosler was a former banker, and this is a man who understood economics better than any human being on the planet. But he wasn't an economist per se, he was a banker. And so he reached out to Randall Wray. He reached out to Bill Mitchell and these guys. And they came up with Matt Forstater. And they worked out the academic side of this. And they did a lot of rigor. And they suffered through tens of people. If you remember how Bernie Sanders looked talking to a room of 12 people in the very beginning of his campaign, Warren and them would have been thrilled to have 12 people in a room with them at the time. They couldn't get an audience. They couldn't get people to publish their stuff. They couldn't get people to take them seriously. And little by little, this information made it out from there and developed a bit of a following. And it developed some academic chops. Warren invested some money into some education opportunities through UMKC and other things. It was empowering to get this thought process going. And the suffering that these academics have had to do both professionally and as human beings. I mean, this is a long burn, folks. I see people that are ready to toss the baby out with the bathwater with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she hasn't even started yet. But these people have been a slow burn for freaking decades, fighting this fight because they believe that strongly. They've proven it. It's true. They're moving forward. Let's do this. But the orthodoxy of the economics profession, of academia, the big five, as it were, these schools that block any publications from making it to the mainstream. They block people like Jamie Galbraith. They block people like Stephanie Kelton. They block all these folks. That's why they're reduced to writing in blogs. That's why they're reduced to writing working papers instead of being published in journals. The orthodoxy is ridiculously protective and defensive of losing any foothold. And the orthodoxy we have today is new Keynesian, and that new Keynesian is based in neoliberalism. And neoliberalism is based in capitalism, which is, as Virginia said, ruthless in protecting its interests. Ruthless. It will not spare any tool in its pouch. It will not spare any arrow in its quiver. It will do what it can do to protect home base. And they have fought through this consistently. Well, then there was the next wave that came through. Guys like Mike Norman, who were probably a forerunner. I mean, Mike was a Wall Street trader, learned MMT, went out there and did all kinds of really cool videos, wrote great blogs, wrote a lot of great things. There was a lot of people, folks, too many names to mention, so forgive me, I'm not going to go on a Rolodex worthy of names. But fact is that many, many people started writing for New Economic Perspectives, writing for all tons. I mean, there was tons of these blogs that were popping up. Eve Smith with Naked Capitalism. Peter Cooper with The Hedda Economist. I mean, there were so many of these things. And then you had offshoots like Roger Malcolm Mitchell with Monetary Sovereignty. Even though that's not MMT, you started seeing these adjacent schools cropping up. And then you see Steve Keen going this direction. Michael Hudson was one of the early folks as well. You guys know Michael Hudson, I'm sure. But you look at this and it just kept growing and growing and growing. And then they hit another wall. And then all of a sudden the lights came on. When the lights came on, it came on with Kelton being put in there with Bernie Sanders in the Senate for the Budget Committee. And all of a sudden, we got some legitimacy. And after that legitimacy, Bernie brought her along for his campaign. Now, for those of you who wonder why Bernie doesn't say things the way you'd like him to say them, let me just start by saying two things. Number one, we're activists. Number two, he's a politician. First thing about activists, look how hard it is for us as activists who don't have to get elected to anything. We don't have to, man, if we stop doing it tomorrow, nobody'd care. We aren't showing up late for work, it doesn't matter. But for those of us who fight this fight, look how hard it is to get people to listen to us half the time. Even now. Imagine being a politician whose opponents are desperate for them to say something cranky and kooky so that they can spend their entire time investing their advertising dollars into turning their opponent into a kook. And then imagine people that only read headlines, reading the headline, and then going into the voting booth. Politicians have a different job than activists do. Just like academics have a different job than activists or politicians do. But we all need each other, don't we? In my opinion, the activists have the role of giving air cover to politicians. And the academics have the job of giving legitimacy to the politicians. And the politicians have the job of getting elected and then taking this knowledge and finding stealth ways to maneuver through the system and snake their way through the bowels of this evil cesspool they've got to work in and find a way to make something happen miraculously. So we don't have to worry about money influencing us. We can just do our activism. We don't have to worry about getting elected. We just have to do our activism. We don't have to worry about the construct of academia publishing our work. We can write a blog. We can write a post on Facebook. But for an academic to get published, that's an incredibly important thing, not only for their career, but to be taken legitimately. So you need to understand where MMT is in this mix, because that's where Real Progressives kicked in. After years and years of MMT sort of being this hardy band of Dungeons and Dragons people, rolling a 20-sided die and a 4-sided die with their plus 10 power of whatever, Real Progressives came in with a stick of dynamite and threw it in the lake and brought all the fish to the top. Nobody knew what was going on. We didn't have the luxury of everybody knowing what the acronym MMT was. They didn't even know it. Most people had no idea what the hell it was. And so there's Grumbine running around on Tim Black saying, dude, taxes don't fund spending. And all of a sudden, word got out. Now, we had a lot of support from people for a long period of time. And as long as we were all fighting for Bernie Sanders, everything was hunky-dory. And then as we moved into supporting Jill, everything was sort of hunky-dory. But that whole Dem exit, Dem enter crap, that really took the focus off of MMT for a bit. And all of a sudden, people were picking sides. When we were like, dude, I don't care if you Dem enter or Dem exit, MMT still works for both of yous. And so we didn't get caught up into that stuff that much. It really was hard. I mean, there was times where it was real easy to suck in, but the truth is, we were still focused on MMT because that's the answer. It cuts through the noise. And as we went through that process, people hunkered down into their partisan sides. People hunkered down into their little tribes and their little groups and their little this and their little that. And there was a lot of infighting having nothing to do with us. But there we are talking about MMT. And people weren't as receptive anymore. There was a whole series of pushbacks, right? There was much chaos in the progressive movement as a whole. And Real Progressives, because we were unequivocating, fact of the matter, taking no guff, man, taking nothing. We would oftentimes have the unfortunate experience of fighting with people, right? We would sit there and do a live stream, and we would have 800 comments in there, and we would have troll after troll after troll talking crap about it. And this is kind of par for the course. As you've seen, once you leave the cocoon of MMT-friendly people, once you step out beyond there, you start realizing, holy shit, we got a lot of work to do still, right? There's a whole lot of work to do. Your politicians are no closer today, really, than they were yesterday to talking boldly about this. Now, you do see at least Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ro Khanna standing against Pago. Let's give credit where credit's due, even though you got other things to talk about there with her siding up with Pelosi. I'm not here to defend that or even put on that for a moment. I'm just talking about MMT. But there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And there's a lot of things going on where people don't take the time necessarily to fact check or learn. And they try to impose things their buddy told them at the bar, or things Jill told them from the fireside, or things somebody else told them from some picnic they went on, or some tale they read, or the things they've heard in the media, or things they read in school, or whatever. And they don't take the time to dig deeper. So we started with this blast, federal taxes don't fund spending. And that made brains explode. That made a lot of people lose their mind, because this simple bumper sticker, which was what was always missing, this wonky, well, let me tell you about the balance sheet, and you look at the operations, it goes left to right and right to left, and it was too wonky. People's eyes glazed over, whatever. But when I say federal taxes don't fund spending, people can relate that. They get it. They're like, wait a minute, what the hell did he just say? I know what he means, but what did he say? That right there was the kind of buzzword that we needed to really, really snag people in, to capture their imagination and make them realize that we were fighting for a New Deal. To make them realize that without understanding that taxes were not the driving force in paying for programs, you could not dream the kind of dreams we need to dream to stay on this planet and make do, to survive and thrive. You can't do that if you think that everything we've got to do is dependent on raising taxes to pay for it. So there we are at the bleeding edge. And I want to tell you, this is a healing moment for me. I'm hoping it's a healing moment for you and for those people out there who maybe once followed real progressives but fell off the train somewhere down the line. Maybe you were a partner of ours. Maybe you used to be a former RP member. This is my olive branch to you. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It's very difficult to carry a heterodox, in other words, outside the mainstream idea through legions of non-believers, as it were. It's very, very difficult to carry a belief that's only held by a small number of people, even if it's verifiable, because it's not just a belief. A belief is like something you have no proof in. I'm talking about a provable fact, right, that has been mistold to us over the course of time. We're penetrating something that's held deep in the brain, deep in the heart. You've talked about it forever. You got to raise taxes on the rich. Oh my God, you must be a Republican if you want to cut taxes, on and on and on. All these deeply held beliefs, reinforced by the party, reinforced by the media, reinforced by society, reinforced by your own checkbook. And so naturally, people fought back against that. Now, could I have handled that better? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I probably could have handled it better, okay? But I'm human, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. You can ask Virginia, right, Virginia? Steve wears his heart on his sleeve. I'm an exposed nerve, as she would say. Okay. So for me, it's very, very hard to not tell you exactly what's going on in my brain at any given time. For me, it's hard to not keep that emotional tie in there. So I didn't always handle things exactly as maybe I should have, right? Maybe I didn't do things exactly as I could have or should have or whatever. But the truth is that because I was certain, and absolutely dead certain, about the veracity of modern monetary theory, those who were not certain felt some type of way when Grumbine spoke authoritatively about MMT, because I did not back down. Not even that much, right? So here we are, and I'm saying to those people who maybe fell off the wagon, maybe were put off by my approach or whatever, I'm here to tell you that I love you still, that we're fighting for the same causes, that there's no reason for us to not be on Team Progressive, that we're all in this together. And I'm hoping that you all understand that as we go and grow, the only people that don't change are the people that are 6 feet under. And that in my time here, I've had to learn new things about myself as well, and I'm sure you have as well. For those people who scoff at what I'm saying, I can't help that. You're going to have to be you. You be all you can be. I'm okay with that. But I'm here to tell you for real, I don't usually make a habit of telling fibs. In fact, I pride myself on being 100% truthful as much as I possibly can be, to the point where it's brutal at times. And I'm here to tell you, I'm hoping that as we head into this holiday season and we ramp up for a new 2019 year, as Real Progressives becomes more official and more official and more polished and more ready to take on bigger tasks, I'm hoping that folks will remember that we're fighting for them and help join us and work with us and help us build huge coalitions. I don't want to be in a situation where our differences in the past hinder us from growing into the movement we need to be. Because we need everybody. Before we even go any further, let me state for the record, I'm still not going to deviate on MMT. It's the truth. There's no wiggle room there for me. But that said, Real Progressives is far more than MMT. And it's important that we relate to each other where we are, and that we remain open to other people's experiences. We have 7 knowledge areas, and of those knowledge areas, the one that I'm most fluent in is economic justice. But environmental and ecological justice, we need experts to come to Real Progressives and help us grow the environmental and ecological side of our business here, our efforts, our activism, our media, our policy making. We need people that understand socioeconomic inequality, not just the economic justice side, but the social side. We need folks that can speak to equality for media, for activism, for policy. We need folks that can do all of them, from peace with justice to democracy. We need people that are scholars, that understand all the different forms of voting that we could do. I know people say ranked choice voting, but there are others. There are reasons why ranked choice voting is or is not the best. So it's important that we have all the facts at our disposal so we can take that information to the public and work with other folks. So John Perkins asks a great question. What is MMT? MMT stands for Modern Monetary Theory, which is a hyper-accurate description of the way monetary systems work today. In particular, the United States and Australia and other countries that free float their currency, like the dollar or the Australian dollar or the pound sterling in the UK, where it's a free-floating, non-convertible, sovereign fiat currency. In other words, you can never run out of it. It's there in perpetuity. There's no gold backing it up, so you can't devalue it. There's no such thing as devaluing your dollar. It doesn't exist anymore. So what MMT is a hyperactive, accurate description of how federal finance works, how economics, it's really just macroeconomics, minus the myths, legends, and other fairy tales we've inserted to make heads or tails of things we didn't understand. And what MMT does is it allows us to understand the role of taxation, that it's not intended to be used to pay for things, that it's used to be meant for a brake or a gas pedal for the economy, depending upon where we are. If we have inflation coming up, we raise taxes. If we need to kickstart the economy, we lower taxes, we spend, we deficit spend. Whatever it takes. The federal job guarantee is a core component of modern monetary theory, because you have to understand that the dollar is starting as a tax credit. In other words, you were unemployed once the government put a tax on you. In order to get that tax paid, you had to go work to get $1. Now to pay your tax. So the dollar tax created the first unemployed person. Well, that's not fair. If the government makes you unemployed and demands you pay a tax in its currency, you should have the government guarantee you a job to ensure that you can pay that tax. There should be no unemployment in this country if you don't want it. There should be no involuntary unemployment. So a federal job guarantee solves the loop, prevents all uninspired, all undesired unemployment, and allows everybody that wants to have a job, federally funded, locally administered. And there's a bunch of literature out there. I'm not going to go on a long tirade about what the job guarantee is. Fact of the matter is, it eradicates involuntary unemployment. So we can do all kinds of stuff, though, once we understand that, though, right? We could expand Social Security. We could do a host of things. We could solve the energy crisis. We could spend inordinate amounts of money to get R&D to satisfy the needs of every disease we don't have information on, that the for-profit healthcare services keep us from having that service, okay? There's so much there that we're not even coming close to. So MMT is a description of the system. Real progressives have taken that description and turned it into actionable stuff for the progressive movement. And if you look, we follow the footsteps of folks like Bill Mitchell, Stephanie Kelton, and others who are taking a very proactive stance in terms of framing things for a progressive agenda. Anyway, to get back to the point I'm making here, we have a need for people that understand our 7 knowledge areas. Those 7 knowledge areas, just real quickly, economic justice, peace with justice, equality with justice, democracy, health and well-being, technology and innovation. I believe I have forgotten peace with justice. So we have 7 knowledge areas, and of those 7 knowledge areas, we need spokespeople. We need people that are researchers. We need people that will write. We need people that do all kinds of management, be able to help us build programs for them, and be able to help us build the websites that go and push this stuff out. We need help. And it's a really exciting time to be a part of this, because not only did we do something already by building a brand, by building a history. You can't pay for a history. A history is something you had to earn, and we've earned that history. We've earned that rich, substantive history. All the connections we've made, all the different experiences we've had, all play into our reasoning for going forward in this more formal fashion. We want as many of you all to be a part of our world. We want you to be involved. If you've got skills in video editing, we need you. If you've got skills in audio editing for podcasts, we need you. If you want to be able to help us teach MMT and other things to an unknowing world, we need you. If you're an event planner that can help us build seminars and weekend getaways and stuff like that, we need you. If you're a writer, God knows we need you. If you just understand how to use spreadsheets and know how to work in systems like Asana or No Project Management, we need you. And if you want to be a spokesperson, or you want to go ahead and cover live events for us with your camera phone or whatever, and you want to do live streams, folks, we could talk about that too. We have opportunities out the wazoo where citizens media meets policy, meets activism, meets education. We need you, and we need diversity too, folks. We don't want to be lily white. We need all kinds of folks. We need all kinds of folks. So please, as we go into this season, think about it. Think about how you might play a role here. Think about whether you'd like to play a role here. And for those people who were once here, the door's open. Let's talk. If you feel like we're stronger together, let's talk. Let's talk. In any event, I want to thank everybody for supporting us both financially. And folks, let me just say this. I got to say it. I have no choice. We need your help financially. We have expenses. We have software packages. We have all kinds of little expenses that you don't think about with cameras and being able to get to events even. We have all kinds of expenses that we really need your help. We can't get the legal funds even. We can't pay for the web hosting services. We can't pay for different things we'd like to do without having funds. And so that means that we're looking for patrons. We're looking for folks that are willing to give $10 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can afford. Hell, $1 a month if that's what you've got. But we're looking for monthly patrons. We really need the help. If you would consider donating to us, I assure you, we work 7 days a week. I never turn off. I don't even know how to turn off. We deserve the help because we'll put it to good use. If you believe in what we're doing, we're worth the gamble. I'm telling you, we're worth it. And if you want to help out your own skills, it's worth it because your skills will be put to use. Now, the last piece of this is a special thank you to all the family members, the people that have to support the people that do the activism, the people that make the sacrifices so that we can be in meetings, the people that make the sacrifices watching the kids, that let us go on trips, that let us do different things. I want to thank you all, you parents, you family members who enable us to do this. You all are wonderful. And lastly, I want to thank all of our academics and the people that were the forerunners that have worked so hard and suffered so much over the years in anonymity, etc. And I want to thank them for giving me hope, which is why I'm doing this, because of them. Without Bill Mitchell's writing, without his friendship, without Stephen Hale's friendship, without Warren Mosler's friendship, without Fidel Kaboob's friendship, without the friendship of all the folks at the Modern Money Network, and Kelton and Pavlina Trineva and all the others. Bob Hockett, you, sir, I love you. All you folks, much love. Without the hard work that they put in, there'd be no real progressives. And I want to thank every last one of them. That's what I'm grateful for. So thank you all so much. And I will talk to you all soon. Have a great night. Hasta.